TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind.
Okay. Again, we're back.
We're back. This is Jim.
And I am Jeff. And you are listening to TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind.
Yeah, if you've ever listened to us on the Good Pods app, according to them, we are a Marvel podcast. So,
ooh, oh, good, because we're talking Marvel today.
Yeah, that actually rings true.
Yeah, they should actually change our standing to Canadian podcast for today's episode as well.
Yes.
We're going to be featuring heavy into the Great White North.
Yes, and for longtime listeners, please, if you are missing the complete, full, unedited 1-minute intro of our episode, please let us know. Because if you say to me, if one person says to me, apart from my co-host, and possibly apart from Dave, who actually created it, apart from those two, if one person says to me, yes, I want that back, then we will bring it back. So the email...
Whoa. We have over 300 episodes.
But I'm just trying to get somebody to email us. So the email is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. So it's a team-up centric episode.
It is. And as I mentioned, very Canadian.
Very Canadian.
Not only is Wolverine from Canada, Ryan Reynolds is from Vancouver. Our backup feature is a love letter to Canada, maybe. And if you stick through the two movies, we have a concessionals treat that may or may not tie into Canada.
Yeah, so obviously we are speaking Deadpool and Wolverine today and also talking about Strange Brew.
Strange Brew. That seems like a weird combo, but it's not.
It's not. At their hearts, both buddy comedies. One is set in Canada. The other one is not, but it's got Canada all over it, as you just pointed out.
Well, I mean, by the time you listen to this, it'll be in the theaters for the second week?
It will, and I'm very glad about that because we have to point out up front that this is going to be spoilerific, this episode.
Ooh, you cannot talk about this movie.
No. So, yeah, I'm glad that it's going to be out for a little bit before this actually drops because give people a chance to see it and then come and enjoy what we thought of it, and maybe that would reflect what you thought of it.
Yeah, because this is the interesting thing and where the internet goes, which is people can't wait to go watch this opening night and then jump on one of these damn fan pages and just spoil it for everybody. Well, this also feeds heavily into my world, which is the comic book collector's world and the speculation, the spec market of who may be showing up in this movie, playing what character, and certain books that go through the roof because it becomes FOMO. I think a lot of those collectors are going to be very disappointed, incredibly disappointed.
But we got to talk Marvel right up front in our news.
Yes, we have a couple news items, and we are recording this on the tail end of San Diego Comic-Con. And last night around 8:00, the internet lost its freaking mind. So we will be talking about that. Don't worry. But again, it'll be old news by the time anybody listens to this, but that's fine. So news. So normally when somebody passes, we give them a cursory, hey, by the way, so-and-so passed away and it's too bad. We did lose Bob Newhart recently. He was 94. But I started looking into this guy and I really just want to take a minute to acknowledge the contribution that this guy brought to television and comedy. Maybe a lot of people out there who are listening only know him as Professor Proton from Big Bang Theory.
Or Papa Elf from
Papa Elf. Yeah, he was Papa Elf. He was also Bernard in the Disney's Rescuers movies.
But he had his own TV show for years years.
So correct. So go back. So obviously this guy is well known for his deadpan stammering delivery style. So in 1960, his debut comedy album, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart, sat at #1 on the Billboard pop charts for 14 weeks. He earned 2 Grammy Awards including first comedy album to ever receive Album of the Year. He beat out Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, and Harry Belafonte for Album of the Year category.
Ooh.
So that's crazy in and of itself.
He's very short. If you've ever seen Elf, did he have to stand on a stool to get his award?
That would be very impressive if he was actually that size. So in 1961, he did have a very short-lived eponymous TV variety show called The Bob Newhart Show, which he earned a Primetime Emmy, Golden Globe, and a Peabody Award. And then in 1962, he filmed the first ever pay-per-view television special for Canadian audiences. So there's your Canadian connection, called An Evening with Bob Newhart. And it wasn't really until 72 through 78 when his show that you mentioned, the Bob Newhart Show, skyrocketed him to fame with Grant Tinker and Mary Tyler Moore as the producers.
But then he had just a show in the 80s called Newhart.
And then from 1980 to 1990, Newhart, starring Julia Duffy, Pete Scolari, Tom Poston, and introduced us to the characters, brothers Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say right now, probably hands down one of the best series finales of a TV show ever, in which is revealed at the very end of the episode that the entire Newhart show was a fever dream of his character from the Bob Newhart Show. He just wakes up as a completely different character from a different TV show with his original TV wife next to him. I do remember, and I loved, again, because I just mentioned it was Mary Tyler Moore Productions, so that the famous MTM Productions with the kitty cat, unlike the MGM Lion, and he would just go on and just do the meow voice. I just was fascinated. I was like, wow, I had no clue this guy was quite so prolific. We also, last week, we mentioned that Inside Out 2 was well on its way to becoming the #1 animated movie of all time, and it has broken that record.
So I was right when you asked
me. You were
me.
right. You were 2 weeks too early, but you were correct. You're prognosticators of prognosticators. Yes. Yeah. So Frozen 2 sat at the top, 1.45 billion. And Inside Out 2, after 6 weeks, has generated 601 million domestically and 861 million internationally, bringing its global tally to a staggering $1.46 billion. Technically, Disney's 2019 remake of The Lion King earned 1.65 billion, but because it's computer generated, they do put that in the quote unquote live action category. So that is not animated. And now for the big news, as we teased last night, anyone sitting at Hall H out in San Diego watching Marvel's presentation were treated to the news that the Russo brothers are coming back to direct not one, but 2 Avengers movies. We will be getting Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. No, they pulled it out from underneath us. We are getting Doomsday. And the even bigger reveal, Doom, Dr. Doom himself, will be played by none other than Robert Downey Jr.
Now, this isn't a huge surprise because...
You don't think it's a huge surprise?
No, because people have been on in the last 2 weeks. People online have been saying this over and over and over again.
Wait, saying that Dr. Doom is going to be the main villain?
No,
or
that Downey, both. That Doom is coming back and Downey's going to play him. Just you see, somebody, lots of people are saying that, and it came true.
Well, the internet's losing its mind, and half of them are like, "This is a desperation move," and the other half are like, "This is brilliant." And I'm going to put my foot firmly in the brilliant camp.
So a lot of people also have been saying, wait a second, is this supposed to be a Tony Stark variant?
That's my guess, which I think there is a storyline in a, 2000-ish book series where Tony Stark was, in fact, Iron Man.
So I'm assuming that,
Doom, he was
that this is not going to be the villain of the Fantastic Four movie, which was also
may set him up. I don't know. So we've done a hard pivot away from Kang altogether.
Was the name Kang even mentioned at the convention?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't think so. I mean,
This is brilliant, though. I really think that even if the Jonathan Majors brouhaha never happened, I think that they were on a downward spiral with the
think
Kang
so?
character anyway. So,
Hmm.
because Quantumania, I just think put a bad taste in a lot of audience members' mouths.
Is that because Ant-Man defeated him so easily?
Well, no, because you've seen him already, like as the main villain. So it's like
But
at
each one
least
of them,
with Thanos, he was a tease here, here, here,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
then he's
right.
revealed in Infinity War.
Well, I think the brilliance of the King, and you saw that at the end of Quantumania, is the different variants where he's Ramatut or he's the Red Centurion. So there's different versions of that character, but we'll never know now. It doesn't look like they've recast him. It doesn't look like they're going forward with any of that. It's just, I mean, it was a throwaway line. Was it at the end of Quantumania where they were just like, "Oh yeah, we had an incursion and."
Yeah, that was Loki.
And
It
we
was
took care
Loki.
of it.
So I honestly wasn't really excited about Kang Dynasty. So I think this is huge news.
Okay.
I'm excited again.
It's literally not even 12 hours old, the news. So I'm in. I feel the Russo brothers brought whatever they did to those last two movies. So that's my news. Is there anything else that you come to the table with?
No, just, all the other little reveals at the convention about Marvel. Like it's been confirmed, and we knew this already, that the Fantastic Four is going to be set in like a retro 60s
yep.
time period. Whether or not it's like part of our sacred timeline or not, that's to be determined.
My guess is no. My guess is that they'll be pulled in. I'm trying to remember what the subtitle of the movie
First
is.
Steps.
First Steps. It sounds like a baby.
It does. Look who's talking. Yep.
Is Robert Downey Jr. playing one of the babies?
We had a look at Thunderbolts.
Okay. Any good?
I'm actually excited about that. I'm excited. I really like all the characters that are in Thunderbolts, so I'm excited about that one.
So is Harrison Ford playing Thunderbolt Ross?
Well, if you got the New World Order trailer,
I did. I just don't know if that character is carrying through into that movie.
I assume that he is. I think I've heard that he's part of the cast.
So anyways, you want to talk trailers or just get into Deadpool?
I do, because I want to stop seeing, I don't know, what is it, 40 films or whatever that I keep seeing. I think it's just like all these short films, independent films that they keep touting. I don't know where they show these
or
right. What have you. I remember
seeing that trailer.
And the one thing I keep seeing that I never want to hear again in my life. Do you want to end up like this guy? Broke as a joke? Getting slapped in the face for money? Broke as a joke.
Broke as a joke. Joke as a broke. They probably thought it was pretty clever.
I'm sure they did.
If you heard it once in the movie, that'd be fine. But
he's a poet. He's a poet, and he doesn't know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a smack in the face. This is the first time I saw the Joker 2. Is it?
You've never seen this before?
No. Dues of Folly? Follies I do?
Joker 2. Let's just call it.
Joker 2. It looks just as disturbing as the first one.
After my Seamus debacle from last week, I'm
actually very impressed that you kept that in there.
I did. Well, it actually made me laugh. So I'm like, for the good of the show, I am keeping this.
Listen, we're not above making asses of ourselves. People out there screaming at us. Did you get the Borderlands trailer?
I did. Looks more interesting than Fallout. So
that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. I got a Red Band trailer for Alien Romulus.
Yes, and is it me or did they show you the entire plot of that movie?
Well, that's Wicked. I also got Wicked, and after I'm like, well, I don't need to see that movie now. And I saw it on Broadway, and I'm just like, you just showed me everything. I don't remember it being quite that Harry Potter-ish, but I mean, right down to a sorting hat.
Yeah, kind of. And with the alien thing, you don't have to tell me the plot. Just show me a face hugger for half a second. Yeah. Show me maybe a xenomorph for all of 5 seconds, and I'm in.
Yeah, I think there's probably one or two more trailers, but those are the ones I wrote down.
Beetlejuice, we got another one.
I did not get Beetlejuice.
We got a longer trailer, which revealed that Justin Theroux is part of the cast, and now my interest level has plummeted.
It's like nice going, Justin. Are we doing this? We are doing this. This is a long time coming.
Yes. And did you also get for the umpteenth time the Deadpool Wolverine silence your cell phones PSA?
I am so sick of these two. How many promos? So I started doing all the tie-in ads. Not only do you get them in the theater PSAs, which is funny. I don't necessarily need it in front of this movie per se, but they're doing Old Spice, they're doing Heineken, they're doing DiGiorno. So they're just doubling down on the promotional tie-ins with this thing. I was waiting for a Mint Mobile nod, but we didn't get that. That's the one thing we didn't get. Oh, wait, we also didn't get Taylor Swift. There's a lot of spec market people were jumping on those Dazzler comics, convinced that she was playing Dazzler in this
Where did
movie.
that even come from?
Well, so the rumors were already out there that I don't know who started it or where it came from. Some guy in his basement, 60-year-old guy in his grandma's basement is where I'm going to go. But when you have Taylor Swift showing up with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Sean Levy at a football game, an NFL football game, then the speculation just went rampant. They're like, oh, they're all together. This makes perfect sense. Yeah, she's in this movie and she's going to play Dazzler. And then it was, well, maybe she's Lady Deadpool. Nope, none of it. So if you're a fan of Deadpool and you've seen the first two movies, are you Deadheads? Are you Poolapaloozas? Are you Wade Wankers? What
did you come up with all that on the cuff? Those monikers?
I did. I don't think any of them hold true. Let's go back a little bit because I know for a fact that you were going to allow your son to watch Deadpool 2 leading into this.
That didn't end up happening. No,
that did not happen. So
not because I shirked away from it, just because we just never had the time during the week to actually do it. So, but rest assured, he did watch Strange Brew.
So he did not. So you did not take him because I couldn't stop thinking. Jim.
Well, no, I did.
Theater.
He did.
Oh,
see
you did.
This.
That's what I'm asking. So he did see this one.
No,
okay.
but you were asking me if we went back and watched Deadpool 2. And that's not the case.
So you didn't see Deadpool 2, but he did sit in the theater and watch this.
Yes, he did.
Because I will say I was a little shocked, even though going in watching the first two Deadpool movies with all the body humor and the glorious bloodletting, gratuitous. This is over the top. I was amazed at what Disney allowed them to get away with.
I was shocked myself. Again, we were talking about if the words Kang were spoken or not at the convention. I was surprised that they're in the void.
Yeah.
And they didn't even show Kang's, castle or whatever it is.
Not a sniff. Exactly. The dialogue is so rat-a-tat, which is fair for any of these Deadpool movies. That it's hard to kind of like sit down and write notes about this stuff because it's all over the place, which is fine. You know what you're getting going in. But I think the big concern was this is a Disney movie. You are now bringing them into the MCU. 20th Century Fox, those first two movies were rated R. This is a rated R movie. And they went all out. They threw everything they could against the wall. And from what I understand, they got no notes, not a single pullback from Feige or anybody in management saying, you know what, maybe we should cut one of those C words out of there. Nothing.
I did read, and Feige confirmed this, that before he actually saw anything up front, he said no drug use in the movie. But we can have jokes about pegging. Yes,
numerous jokes about.
So
pegging.
that's where he drew the line.
No drugs.
It's true. I read it, and Feige confirmed it.
Okay, all right. So that's his threshold.
Yeah, that's his threshold.
Just no drugs. All right, we can
talk about them, all day long, which they do.
Right.
But you can't see them in use.
Okay, all right, that's fine. We didn't.
But we open, and I was hoping that there would be a reference to the MCU theme and the fact that we're getting the MCU logo now in front of a Deadpool movie. And of course, you hear Deadpool humming along to the theme.
Yes, correct.
I thought it was somebody in the theater. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Here we go. I'm assuming you had a packed house.
Well, I saw it at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and it was probably half full.
Yeah. We went 150 on a Friday. And there was maybe 20 people.
But it wasn't like the uproarious Hall H crowd. It wasn't like people were applauding or anything.
Yeah. No, I think I was, once again, I'm Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. I'm the one in the middle of the theater laughing my ass off the entire time, guffawing at every one of these stupid jokes. Because apparently I am the target market for this movie.
But we both are, of course.
Yes, yes.
Deadpool is digging up the corpse of Logan, the Logan that died from Logan, the movie.
From
Logan, yeah. He's like, I know this guy regenerates. He is not dead. Yeah.
Only to discover that he is dead.
The adamantium skeleton, which he somehow is able to break apart with his bare hands.
Listen, so the TVA is tracking him down. So
we're thrown right into the movie opening moments,
which I think is what Deadpool tends to do, which is, and then you flash back and you find out how he gets to that point. I believe they literally did that in the first two movies. So they keep that format. But this opening sequence where he is fighting the TVA and, like you said, desecrating the bones of dead Logan, eviscerating these guys with adamantium femurs, and at one point he does put the claws on, throws his head around, dancing to NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, sets the tone for this movie, and I'm just like, all right, I'm in.
There is a 3D version of this out in theaters, and I didn't see that, but this opening sequence is tailor-made for 3D. I'm like, oh, I kind of wish I was in the 3D showing now.
Right.
Because you got like a, very Terminator-esque shot of Logan's skull going right into the audience.
Yeah, with the opening credits.
He shows no mercy to these TVA grunts that are just doing their job. They're just going there to arrest him, not to kill him. And he egregiously takes them all out. It's a bloody mess in the snow after the fight's over. And then we get the flashback to Earth 616.
So this takes place during that montage at the end of Deadpool 2, when he uses Cable's time jumping watch to go back and clean up the timeline, but get rid of the Wade.
So is this time jumping watch? This is like a tempad. It's not just a time jump in the same universe. You can obviously, because he does this, somehow go from universe to universe rather than just going back and forth on his own timeline. So
yes.
But I ask you, how does he know who the Avengers are if he's foreign to Earth 616?
That's a good question.
Yes.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that come up that you just go with, because why aren't the TVA chasing down Cable, or even the Avengers for that matter?
Yeah. How does he know who Captain America is, or, when he salutes him in the TVA?
Yes.
So,
yeah. But you're right. He's sitting in Happy Hogan's office, and he is trying his best. He wants to become a part of an Avenger. He wants to feel relevant. He wants to be a part of something bigger.
And he doesn't have the suit on. He's getting interviewed by Happy Hogan as Wade Wilson.
Yes. Yes. And then asked Favreau a couple times, aren't you the chauffeur? Yeah, well, I'm head of security now. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, this is before Tony Stark dies, because he has every intention of meeting with Tony Stark. He's like, where's the guy? Where's the big guy? He goes, just assume I'm the big guy. So,
and Happy is telling him, you just keep telling me that you need this. The Avengers help people when they need it, and so that's the justification. He gets shot down. Yeah. And we also are introduced to the term smashterbating.
Yes, I did not put that in my notes. I'll never look at those stupid Hulk fist things again the same way. This is where the rat-a-tat jokes just come at you. And if you remember, when they were filming this is right around the time of the writer's strike. And the only way that they were allowed to continue filming was he could not ad-lib. There's something to do with the writer credit, even though he does have a writer credit on it.
I was going to say, then, okay, I'm going to write it down, and then we'll shoot the scene.
Apparently, it was already committed to paper. So the level of nods to breaking the fourth wall, to Ryan Reynolds movies, to Hugh Jackman as a song and dance guy, all that stuff just gets thrown at you.
It does, and it's joyous to behold. And I just want to point out that Happy has the worst inspirational speech I think I've ever heard. Shoot for the middle. Shoot for the middle, not the top.
He doesn't. Right. He doesn't
Never
think
shoot
that.
for the top. Shoot for the middle.
That way you will never be disappointed.
So then we shoot back to Deadpool's own timeline, which is 6 years later, but it's, what is it, Earth 10,005?
Is it, how many zeros are in there? I don't know.
I think there were three zeros. I don't know.
Matter. So this is the Fox, the 20th Century Fox universe.
So we assume that this is the universe in which not only the X-Men movies take place, but also the Fantastic Four movies take place.
He's trying to assimilate into just normalcy.
Yeah. So we see him selling cars with a stapled on toupee, and thankfully, that joke is kept because even though Deadpool doesn't have the toupee on, you see the staples in his head for pretty much the entire movie. And whenever Logan his mask is on,
point, what's that on your head? And he goes, "Oh, it's a hairpiece. It's a hair system." He says,
"Yeah." And it looks like it's when you rip up a carpet and the staples are still there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and right, he's like, nobody knows, and Logan just starts laughing. He goes, "Everybody knows. It's his birthday party."
The characters that you know and love from the first two Deadpool movies that are, his friends, his family, are there to surprise him because it's Wade's birthday party.
Yeah, Blind Al, Vanessa. So this I don't. He goes out of his way. I mean, the whole second movie was to save Vanessa, but now they're not together. This is like Aliens 3.
Because why? He gave up. He shoots for the middle. That's
yeah. There's flashbacks where she just feels that he's not, like, he's always in Deadpool mode, and
well, she's got to blame Happy for all of that.
That is true. Happy, and she's dating somebody else, which I don't even want to hear.
But they didn't go there again. I would have liked to have seen a scene between Deadpool and whoever this guy is, and maybe he could behead him or something with his katana. Who knows?
Yeah, but he's working with Peter because at the end, because that was one of the things he rectifies in the end credits of 2 is going back and saving X-Force. Right. So Shatterstar, I'm trying to remember. We don't get the invisible guy, which was played by Brad Pitt.
Well, maybe we did. We just didn't.
We just didn't see him. I didn't see his name in the end credit. Yeah, we get Dopinder and Colossus is there with Shatterstar and Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, and Yukio. Hi, Yukio. So they're all there for his birthday.
The TVA just shows up at his birthday party.
Just knocks on his door. Normally, they just come through a little time portal. No, we knock on his door. And that's where we get an extended pegging joke, which goes on for a little too long. It's like, okay.
This is the biggest question mark that I have. So he wakes up and he's in the TVA, and this guy, this middle manager guy, Paradox. Is in charge of his timeline
section. Yeah.
And this is where we get the exposition that timelines have an anchor being.
Yes. Yes.
And if that anchor being is taken out of the equation, if that anchor being dies, then the timeline slowly shrivels up and can't exist without it. So this doesn't make sense because anybody besides Logan just has a normal lifespan. Right. So you're telling me that when this person dies, what happened before they were born in the timeline? Oh. It didn't exist?
Interesting. But he even said it's not like an instant death of the timeline. It's like a slow demise. So it's like, well, that's like thousands of years. And he's like, I don't want to wait around watching.
And what does Paradox need Deadpool for?
No.
What is he asking him to do? I don't really to get the Time Ripper thing because he had access to it all along.
Right. Doesn't matter because Wade wants out and he just takes
because he did at one point say that the management says that you're special. So I want to really prune your universe, and I'm giving you the chance to get out and go to Earth 616 because the management says you're special.
And literally turns to the camera and he says, "Suck it, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland."
Yeah. But, he doesn't think it through. Because if he does this, then this means that he's going to hurry along the end of his timeline, which will mean everybody that he loves will die.
Right. All 9 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, you want to old Yeller my universe? Which I think is a Disney movie.
Yeah, it is a Disney movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but you're right. Paradox with this Time Ripper. whatever. We're in the TVA, so we're tying all this together. And like I said, why would they concern themselves with him when you got the Avengers running around with these time clock things, jumping through time? Captain America, Cable's jumping through time. We got no Loki. Wasn't Loki in charge of all the timelines? Are you sitting at the time tree or something by the end of that season?
Yes, he was. So I don't know. There's no reference to that. The other thing is that it's established that Logan is the anchor being in Deadpool's universe.
Is weird and interesting.
That bit of info just tells us right there that, Deadpool does exist in the same reality as the Logan and X-Men that we've been watching. Yeah.
Yeah. And that Iron Man was the anchor point of Earth 616. So does that trying to explain the eroding quality of the MCU? That is just like, I literally took that as like, well, since Tony Stark died, our movies have sucked.
And Paradox says that the reason he wants Deadpool's timeline to go away is that he doesn't have the patience. He doesn't want to sit around for 2,000 years waiting for it to wither and die.
Isn't that the whole point of the TVA?
He wants to. He wants to move on. He wants to move on to better things.
He's got upper management aspirations. Yeah, it's just a way to get this character from point A to point B and bring him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Which is fine. I'm on board for this. I'm not going to nitpick it because a lot of it doesn't make sense. But he ends up with a new suit. They gave him a brand new suit, which is brightly red, matches, looks a lot more comic accurate. Although you look at the other one, you're like, all right, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I didn't notice the difference, but then again, I didn't watch the other two right before.
Yeah, the first two movies, it's a much darker red. He does get the Deadpool belt buckle with the 2-eye face. But yeah, he thinks that he can say he wants a chance to save his universe.
Yeah, while he's there, he changes his mind. He's like, no, I'm not going to the sacred timeline. I'm going to save mine. And he busts some heads right in the TVA and goes through a portal. And there's one guy, a running joke, one of the grunts that works in the office has a crush on Deadpool.
Oh, this was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. So, but this is where we get this wonderful romp through all of these Wolverine iterations.
Because he wants to find a Wolverine because he can't get the one from his timeline because he's
right.
Dead.
So this is where then it cuts back and you see this all took place before he actually gets to the corpse in that opening credit scene and finds out that Wolverine in his timeline is officially dead.
Yes.
He's gone. So
and
now
that's why he's digging him up in the opening moments. Yep.
So did you pick up on all the Logan Wolverine iterations? Because they came fast and furious.
Well, no, this is where a movie like this is going to reward you in future viewings. No, I was just there. I was trying to take notes where I could, but at one point I'm like, I'm just going to, sit back and enjoy.
Well, I will take you through because I had to explain a couple to my son. So one of the deepest cuts was when he goes to the world that's all covered in skulls and Wolverine is pinned up to a giant cross. That is a very famous Mark Silvestri cover from the X-Men run. So it's just an homage to, we get a John Byrne reference with Wolverine in the brown suit.
Yes.
That became very popular in the 80s. Patch, when he was working in Madripoor with Mr. Fixer, who was the Hulk. We got Old Man Logan, old man in a rocking chair that shoots him with the shotgun. We get the Age of Apocalypse, which is the wild-haired, one-handed Wolverine from a very famous run, probably late 90s, which again was an alternate reality or whatever. But then we get Henry Cavill,
yes,
as the Cavalrine, and he looks fantastic.
He does,
and super ripped. Deadpool's like,
well, what did he say? He said the guys down the street did you dirty.
So he's referring to DC and the fact that Cavill was unceremoniously let go from his Superman duties.
Yeah. I would have just stayed there and worked on this one, even though he was trying to kill Deadpool. I was like, this is the one you got to take.
Well, they're all going to try and kill him at some point. until you that's what happens with all these superhero tie-ins. But if you really want to do a deep cut, they should have just gone with Dougray Scott, who was originally cast as Wolverine but couldn't get out of his Mission Impossible contract. And that's when they brought in Hugh Jackman. So Hugh Jackman owes his entire Wolverine career to Dougray Scott, who has been lost to time. The blank stare on your face indicates to me that you don't even know who that is.
Yeah, so that would probably go over the heads of like 99% of the movie audience.
But again, if you're doing deep cuts, do a deep cut, because the other thing, the first Wolverine he runs into jumps off the bar stool and he's comic accurate 5'2".
Yeah, talk about Papa Elf. Yeah.
And he actually calls him Harry Lou Retton, which I thought was genius. But again, if you're going to go that route, cast Danny DeVito in that role right there. Put Danny DeVito as Logan. So I felt there, even though I was joyful, all these damn cameos that are coming fast and furious, and I am just guffawing along with them. You probably could have had a little more fun, but yeah, it's a lot. And at one point, he goes, is it the Wolverine with Hulk? Is that the Wolverine he ends up? Yeah, because he's got the yellow suit.
This is where the line where he says, "Oh yeah, you're joining the MCU at a bit of a low point." Yeah, correct, but you're here. Right.
Yeah. And you get Wolverine with his claws extended, and you see the Hulk's reflection in the blades. That is a reference to a very, very famous Todd McFarlane Incredible Hulk cover. So there you go. Those are really deep nerd nods. But yeah, so he finally finds a Wolverine.
But then they both get pruned and they end up in the void.
Was that really explained away? Like whenever someone got pruned, they just went into this void?
They established that in Loki.
Okay. And so
one of the best jokes for me was when you see the Fox logo.
Well, I was going to say, you see this in the trailer, the ruined 20th Century Fox logo. And there's other things in there. There is a...
that was in the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad that
there's
didn't watch
Shield helicarrier. But this is also one of the best reveals. And unfortunately, I picked up on it a minute before they actually revealed, because we get a character. So they get into a fight. So this is like round one. They're just beating the crap out of each other. Before
the fight happens, again, Deadpool straight to camera, as he often does. Get your special sock out, nerds.
Yes,
here we go.
This is what you asked for. And it is a 12-minute melee of just eviscerating, just poking and jabbing and whatever. And what's funny is that Deadpool goes, why my suit is red, so that you don't see me bleed. That was actually, I think, in the first or second movie. But Wolverine has cuts. He's got bullet holes in his suit. Deadpool never looks like he's been touched. He looks unscathed. The amount of time that Wolverine, stabbed him or he was shot or clawed, never really seemed to show any damage to his suit, which is fine again. But then we're broken up by another character in cloaks. And you're like, who is this? You're trying to figure out who it is. And at first, he kind of looked a little like the Red Skull.
Before his face is revealed, and he's gripping onto some kind of a railing on the top of this vehicle. Or structure. I forget what he's standing on.
He's on top of some structure or something.
And you see a little bit of blue costume under the robe.
Yeah.
And Deadpool's looking at him like, I know who this guy is. And you think you do too. And then he takes off the robe and Chris Evans. Unbelievably, it's Chris Evans. What?
Chris Evans, man, he's in.
He got me though. I was there's Cap. There's Cap.
Well, and right. So then all of a sudden, all of these other Mad Max vehicles show up, and you got Pyro, and you got a bunch of these other second-rate characters from the X-Men universe.
Yep, Sabretooth.
That's right.
Toad.
Sabretooth, which is Toad. Uncredited Ray Park, by the way.
I knew. I thought that was Ray Park.
Yep. Taylor Maine reprising his role.
Yep.
As Sabretooth. Aaron Stanford is Pyro. So he's going to say it, because all of a sudden Chris Evans steps forward, and Deadpool is waiting for that Avengers Assemble. And he pulls off his cloak and he screams, "Flame on!" He is Johnny Storm. And unfortunately, it just, like, you looking for this stuff. So I called it like a split second before it was revealed. But it's a fun freaking. And of course, he tries to take out Pyro with flames. I'm like, have you never encountered this guy before?
But they beat these two pretty easily because they have a giant magnet. So
yeah, right. And all Deadpool's got to do is get it between the magnet and Wolverine, and he's screwed. So that was kind of interesting. And next thing you know, they end up, and this is a nice reveal as well, which is that this layer that they're in is a giant Ant-Man suit, complete with a skull. And the only thing I could think of is that this is probably one of those variants from the end of Quantumania.
Oh, okay. But let me ask you this. If you caught this, there's one point where after they get stuck to the magnet and you see all the vehicles driving across the desert, there's this Cuber looking thing.
Oh, I don't know what that. I think that we saw those in Loki.
Okay.
As him and the girl were coming close to Kang's castle. That might have been the only reference whatsoever to Kang. Yeah, I don't remember. It's just a weird looking blobule thing.
So it's revealed that this big Ant-Man suit is actually the hideout for the big bad in this movie. Yeah. Yes. Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, who is a relatively newer character. She was introduced in the Grant Morrison, Frank Quietly new X-Men run in 2001.
Okay.
And I thought this actress who played her is spot on. I thought she was fantastic.
This actress looks like James McAvoy.
She is about as comic accurate as any of these characters. She was fantastic. But we do get a Paul Rudd finally aged joke.
But that was spoiled in the trailer. Even closing my eyes, I heard that one.
See, I don't remember that.
But yeah, so not only do we have Toad, Sabretooth, we also have Juggernaut here in the
not played by Vinnie Jones, by the way.
Deadpool calls him this year's Juggernaut.
Yeah. Well, you know why Vinnie Jones turned this down? His direct quote, "Such a drama putting that suit on." I'm like, what else are you doing? They want you to come back for this character.
I know that suit was pretty, besides the helmet.
I don't know.
It was pretty low key.
But the guy who does play Juggernaut is Aaron W. Reed. He was the big jacked up version of Ryan Reynolds in Free Guy. At the end when he battles him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catchphrase here. Yeah. But you're right. We get, even in the background, you got Toad, you got Blob, you got Deathstrike. Who's was played by Kelly Hu, same actress. So Cassandra Nova is in here. They claimed, and I don't remember, that was right at the end of when I stopped reading comic books. But I think it was revealed that she was Charles Xavier's twin in the womb, most powerful mutant on the planet, and he didn't know he had a twin sister for how many years? What's interesting is that in all X-Men movies, Professor X puts his fingers to his head and he can read your mind, while she takes her fingers and immerses them into your head. And this is so unsettling because it just, you could see it, like she's sticking her fingers up his nose and through his nose and out his ears. And there's some very disturbing visuals here.
And speaking of disturbing, we see poor Johnny Storm get skinned alive. So all you have is a skeleton and his musculature, which just collapses upon itself.
Well, that's because Deadpool goes on a rant and says, "Oh yeah, Johnny told me all about you," and then he just says, "Oh, you're a piece of crap, and you do this. I can't even." And
Johnny's like, "I never said all that. I
never said any of that." After he's literally, like you said, skin is ripped off him, and he just becomes a pile of goo. And he's like, "Oh, it's my favorite Chris."
And then Wolverine says to Deadpool, "What did you do to that poor kid?" He's like, "Kid, he's like 50.
I know.
So they escape because Elias shows up from Loki again.
Yeah.
But my question is, Elias and Loki eats everything. Why can't he eat the Ant-Man suit?
I don't know. Again, it's just to get them from point A to point B.
Because everybody runs inside the Ant-Man suit to get away from Elias. I'm like, that wouldn't work in Loki.
And like you said, Deadpool literally name checks this season an episode of Loki where that thing shows up, but they escape.
They find like some abandoned diner in the void, a nice breather. They introduce Nice Pool. So not only
This is actually great.
it's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool with no mask and a man bun. It's like the man bun is the centerpiece of this ensemble of
Hold on.
nice pool.
IMDb has the actor listed as Gordon Reynolds. But yes, it is Ryan Reynolds, and he's super, super nice, super chill dude. And he's got a companion.
Mary Poppins.
Dogpool, the world's ugliest dog. That dog just won World's Ugliest Dog Award last year.
That
Actually, a couple months ago.
Literally that same dog.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
that dog has come in, I think, second, like 3 years in a row before it finally won. Speaking about aiming for the middle. But yeah, Peggy the dog is the actress dog.
To the point where you're thinking, is this a CGI creation?
It's a CG dog. I think they CG'd him jumping, but that tongue is real. That dog is, and it's just licking his mouth. All I could think of is that scene in Something About Mary, where the old lady's dog is just licking the inside of her lips and teeth. Wow.
We get a second Deadpool Wolverine fight scene, this time set to You're the One That I Want from Greece.
Inside a car, which
goes on for like 12 hours because it goes into nighttime. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, this is our second fight where they just go at it. They're
sick of each other, so they go at it until they're both unconscious. So they're so tired they just fall asleep, and somebody gets in the van and drives them off.
So this is a fun reveal.
Yes.
So they wake up in some hidden lair. Wolverine found a bar, so he's just drinking away.
The denizens of this lair come in one at a time, so they can each have their own reveal.
Yep.
First, we get Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
Yes, which is pretty spectacular.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we get Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Which is wild because I forgot, and then probably I've never even seen Blade Trinity, that Ryan Reynolds was in that. And he does make a joke later on that there's only one Blade, because I think that movie's like in development hell. But after that, we get the most spectacular character ever to grace the MCU screen, Channing Tatum as Gambit. And this is just a joke that keeps on giving.
It is.
Because I'm trying to explain it to my wife. She's a huge fan of Channing Tatum's, as probably every woman out there listening is. And the joke is that he's tried for years to get this character off the ground. He wants to play this character, and it's just never happened.
But didn't John Carter from Mars play him in the Wolverine movie?
Yeah, they did bring in that character, but it wasn't Channing Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows you just how ridiculous this costume really is, because it is comic accurate.
And then Deadpool says, "What is your power? Close-up magic?"
Right? Yeah, because he's got the playing cards. But he also has that Creole speaking style. And it was just like, you couldn't understand the word he was saying.
And the first line he gives at the end of it, Deadpool's like, "I haven't seen Sling Blade in a while. Hit me again."
Yeah. Oh, some people call it Constant Blade. I call it a Sling Blade. Oh. So, but again, because he's trying to rally them to, let's go back and let's take out Cassandra Nova. We need to take care of this. And they're all talking, yeah, I'd like to go back to my timeline. I'd like to, and Gambit is just like, I think maybe I was born here. I don't know if I have a timeline. Just playing into the joke that he was never a character, that he never it was established.
And then I think after that line, Deadpool's like, "Okay, who's your dialect coach? The Minions?"
Yes, correct. Yeah. Hooked on phonics, anybody? Yeah. So, but then it's also revealed that X-23, Lauren, played by Daphne Keane from the Logan movie, the little girl, is with them as well.
So she's the actual version of that character from the Logan movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened at the end of that movie, how she ended up in the void, I guess.
It could be Paradox, because he wants to do away with that timeline. So
then you should have then wouldn't all those other mutants that were going to that safe place that he sacrificed himself so they could get to have shown up in the void as well?
Just give him some time. Paradox has to take him out one at a time. It's hard enough to deal with Deadpool with
he's a 9-to-5er. It's established that this is the worst Wolverine in all the universes, that he was a selfish a-hole and a drunk, which is most Logans, but he has a healing factor. So he can just, it takes a lot for him to actually get drunk. was not there when he was needed most, and all of his X-Men in his world were killed.
So he's been living with the guilt
Yes.
ever since. Yes.
And the one thing that I love, because the yellow suit goes all the way back to the original 2000 X-Men movie, where they're all dressed in black spandex or whatever. And, he's like, what the hell are these? And Cyclops says, what do you want, a yellow spandex? Like there's a joke. This is the first time ever that Wolverine is wearing a comic accurate suit in all of his iterations. But you find out that the reason he's very sensitive to the fact that this suit, he wears it in memory of these X-Men, that he failed them. And this is the only thing I have that keeps me going, to remind me of them and to make me a better person.
So he wears it under his clothes like Peter Parker does his Spider-Man suit at all times. So we also get the reveal at this point, because they do rally the troops to go fight Cassandra. So they go back to the Ant-Man suit. We get the reveal that Pyro is working for Paradox. So he's kind of like a double agent here.
He's kind of like, who was the guy in The Matrix? Fixer? What was
the Joey Pantalone or whatever the guy, the actor's name. Yeah. But wouldn't Cassandra know that, because she's
she can read thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so. Again, just go with it.
Just go with it.
Just go with it.
So the plan is to get Juggernaut's
She would
helmet.
also know they're coming.
Yeah.
And what their plan was.
But as we said, I think maybe she needs to put her fingers in your brain in order to read. But the plan is that to get the Juggernaut helmet on her so she's powerless. But the problem is they managed to do it. But as she says, I can't send you back with this helmet
with the
on
helmet
my head.
Yeah. Good job. Well done. But she said, she makes a point of saying, listen, I get a ton of Deadpools through here, because they're coming from all different timelines. I've never had a Wolverine. They do manage to, and it's a X-Men 3 Last Stand level fight sequence with the powered up team. And you get to see Wesley Snipes and Channing Tatum in action. Elektra. Right. They're all pulling their signature moves.
Yep.
So while Deadpool and Wolverine make their way, she had a sling ring from Dr. Strange that came through.
What she says is an amateur magician came through at one point, and I took this off of him. So who that is, it could be a Strange variant. We don't know.
Or Wong.
Could be a Wong variant.
Could be, but she had it right. And again, that is also ruined in the trailer. Even though you only see the edge of the portal, if you watch any of these movies, you know what that is. So it's just get me from point A to point B. They gotta get back to the TVA because this Time Ripper is firing up and going to destroy his timeline. And now Cassandra's aware of it and she wants it.
So Cassandra's endgame here is to destroy all the universes and only have the void, because that's her home. And then she'll be the ruler of everything if only the void exists.
Which seems weird. That's a lot of people dropping in on you.
But yeah, so they go back to Deadpool's timeline to save it. Wolverine and Deadpool are now back in Deadpool's reality, and all the other Deadpool variants from the void come after them.
Yeah, because Nicepool tells him at one point, there's a Deadpool core. Yep. You don't want to mess with them. They're a bunch of jerks.
So this is where we get Ladypool. Dazzler notwithstanding, a lot of speculation was that Taylor Swift was going to be playing Ladypool. You never see who's under the mask, but if you wait for the credits, it is not Taylor Swift. It is, in fact, Blake Lively playing Ladypool.
So what would the point be if you're not going to see her?
Yeah.
Be like,
or she's just voicing her. I don't know if it was actually her physically there, but
I don't know.
That is Blake Lively's voice.
So there was a couple other famous voices that were thrown in there as well.
Matthew McConaughey, right?
Matthew McConaughey, Cowboy Pool, and Head Pool was played by Nathan Fillion.
Okay.
Who he plays both sides, man. You want me in the DC universe? I'll be in DC. You want me in Marvel? I'll be in Marvel.
There is a cheat. There's a cheat in it, but it looks like it's one fluid shot when they're fighting down the street through the Deadpool core, and just eviscerating them.
Yeah, and we get a couple little Easter eggs. This is also in the trailer. The building behind him at one point is Liefeld's Just Feet.
Yes,
which is a direct nod to Rob Liefeld, along with Fabian Nikizin, who actually created Deadpool. And Liefeld is notorious for not drawing feet or to make them super tiny. He has been ripped apart numerous times for his anatomy, and yet the guy can meet a deadline. He got work. Yeah, at one point, he actually had his own commercial, a Levi ad. You remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he had a Levi. It was a button fly ad. Those guys were huge when all the original artists left Marvel and started Image.
Mm-hmm.
That was like Mark Silvestri, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld. But yeah, I was at New York Comic Con years ago, and he was having lunch right next to me in the commissary. More power to him.
Nice.
You got a call out. We got our Stan Lee cameo.
Yes, we did.
Catch that? The Stan Lee steamer signed on the side of the bus.
Yep.
And at the end, when they're back at the birthday party, we got a Feige pizza. I'm sure there were more. Those are the ones I caught.
So Peter comes dressed as a Deadpool himself to break up the fight. All the Deadpool Corps listen to him like, no, stop fighting. And maybe a romantic subplot is beginning between him and the head of the TVA here. So
yeah, that was interesting.
Yep. And so this is the point where, okay, they get back on track to stop this time ripper and to stop Paradox. And Deadpool looks at the camera and says, we're in the home stretch, folks. I promise.
Yeah, stay with us. Yeah, because this is 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Yeah. So the time ripper thing is in the subway of Deadpool's reality. Paradox has put it there. And in order to stop it, you have to cross the red and blue wire or something.
It's like Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams.
Yeah. Again, there's one last fight between Wolverine and Deadpool as to who's going to do it. So they both have nice, death speeches because one of them says they are, and then they fool the other one, like, nope, I'm going to do it and leave you here. They both end up doing it, joining hands. Hugh Jackman finally revealing his abs in this scene.
Yes. Ripped.
And so they both save Deadpool's reality.
A lot of work for one scene.
And they set up more than once that if whoever does this, regardless of being regenerative, is going to die because it's antimatter and you can't be antimatter, blah, blah, blah. But antimatter doesn't count on there being two regenerative beings stopping it instead of just one. So
all right, just go with it. Again,
just go with it.
Turn off your brain on that one. Although I did like the continuity of the spaghetti strands because we saw that in Loki, we saw that in Ant-Man, Quantumania. So as this universe starts to unravel, you get those spaghetti strand type of special effects.
Yep. So they save Deadpool's timeline, but does this mean that it's just going to slowly die anyway because their anchor being is dead?
Yeah. But maybe that gives him time to get his friends out and into the MCU.
Yeah, well, he didn't care because Paradox said it would die over 2,000 years.
Right.
So everybody...
Paradox. Just the idea that Paradox was like, I just want this done with.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
So Deadpool doesn't end up in the MCU. He's still in his timeline.
He's still back in his own timeline.
Yeah.
But I guess he has access now because he's TVA. And early when he's first introduced in the TVA and he's seeing all the different universes play out on the TV screens, we do get a shot of Thor crying over what looks like a dead Deadpool. And we never got a resolution.
You never got resolution. And I was waiting for that to be the end credit scene. Yeah.
I'm like, is that even Chris Hemsworth? But I think they repurposed the scene with Loki dying.
Oh, okay.
They just put Deadpool's face in there. But
so they've got to have that payoff in something down the line. Well, no, I mean going forward.
Going forward. Yeah. Maybe. That just keeps you clinging.
But Deadpool brings his Wolverine now back to his reality. So does that mean that this Wolverine is now the anchor being? And maybe he has saved this universe from
way too many questions. My head's hurting.
But anyway, when Deadpool brings him back, he's like, till you're 90, you're going to be here. You're like, meaning correct. Hugh Jackman is going to be playing this character forever.
Which is funny because after yesterday's reveal, you're like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. until you're 90.
Yep. Yes. And there's a great scene when they're eating shawarma, and Deadpool says,
"Marvel,
you know the Avengers discovered shawarma."
Right. Nobody knew what shawarma was beforehand. Oh man, we didn't even really talk about the soundtrack. because I thought it was pretty solid. We mentioned Bye
Yeah.
Bye Bye with NSYNC. We got 2 Huey Lewis and the News songs. Eric Carmen, Make Me Lose Control. But this Like a Prayer, Madonna, apparently Ryan Reynolds had been wanting to use it for a while. And he actually went to Madonna herself to ask for permission to use it in this movie.
And she granted it, although she had notes. If Kevin Feige didn't have notes, she had notes how to use it. But she did not allow them to use it on the soundtrack. So if you buy the soundtrack
So it's
on
not
iTunes,
on the soundtrack?
it's not on the soundtrack. The reason
Why? Okay,
the
good.
reason being is that she is releasing her own special anniversary edition of Like a Prayer
Gotcha.
later this year. And I
They
guess
want
she
to step
didn't
all
want
over
it.
her toes.
But you know, as many people have now said online, is like this would only help that because
You
now
would
more
think
people
so,
know the
right.
song. Yeah.
Right. It is my favorite Madonna song.
It is a great emotional song. You know,
This is the video that got her fired from Pepsi, by the way.
yes. No sooner was she hired than she was fired.
Yeah. No, you can still find those commercials. There's bootleg copies of them up on YouTube, I'm sure. But that campaign went nowhere.
But yeah, it's used to great effect during the Deadpool core fight scene. This is just so fun. It doesn't disappoint anybody, I think, that would be a fan of the other 2 Deadpool movies. As you said, it goes further than those do. I didn't mind too much because it's mostly just language, you know, and over the top violence.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like shrinking in my seat because my son was sitting next to me and he was just, you know, enjoying it just as much as I was.
I thought the language was much.
I think it said over 107 times the F-bomb is dropped.
Oh, really?
Somebody counted it.
I have a word count on how many times A shows up in the next movie.
Yeah. Is it more than the F-bomb in this one?
I do believe that is the case. Yes. Yeah. I enjoyed this immensely. And I'll tell you, sitting through the end credits, you get what can only be described as a love letter to these 20th Century Fox Marvel movies.
Because you're shown like, you know, the outtake reel of a lot of these movies. The one thing I didn't like about it is the use of the Green Day song, because they famously did that for the Seinfeld clip episode.
Yes. Maybe somebody was a Seinfeld fan.
Maybe
like,
there was.
Or maybe they're just Green Day fans. Yeah, no, I thought it was solid. I enjoyed it immensely. It gave me everything I expected.
And, you know, it didn't answer everything. So there's still the big question, okay, how are you going to bring back this character now? This movie has kind of closed the door on him, gives him a happy ending in his timeline. So how are you going to bring him back? This can't be the end. This movie is done so well for an R-rated movie. What is it, like the best opening day ever?
I think it was 38.5 million in Thursday previews.
Conservatively estimating that in its opening weekend, which we are still in as we're recording this, around 200 million, which is by far and away the best opening weekend for an R-rated movie. Who knows what it's going to end up as? So this cannot be the end of Deadpool. It can't. They wouldn't just let it lie. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, there's strands there. They can bring them into Secret Wars. You can bring them into Doomsday.
Yeah.
Was that the guy that killed Superman?
It is, isn't it? Yeah, that's a character Doomsday. From.
It is. I will say it is about 25 minutes too long. The fight sequence when they first end up in the void. While I get it because it's the first time they kind of go at each other, the one in the car is much more entertaining.
But that's small potatoes. It still, I had a big stupid grin on my face.
Like I said, especially when Gambit shows up, I am ear to ear, mouth wide open, agape, going, I can't believe they off.
They couldn't have done.
I cannot believe they pulled that off.
They couldn't have done too much. I wanted more, Gambit. I wanted more. Maybe that would have been a mistake.
They're still in the void.
I think that they got eaten by Elias.
I just remember them staring up and watching them both go into the time portal.
We'll see.
Well, I guess we'll see.
I want a buddy movie with the new Blade and the old Blade. I think that's where they should go with this Blade movie.
But you're right, because if you sit all the way through the credits, the end credit is a fantastic, no pun intended, payoff.
Despite Johnny Storm's protests to the contrary, he did actually say all those insulting things about Cassandra, so it was justified when she ripped his
And listening
skin
to
off.
Chris Evans, who we know and have loved as Goody Two Shoes Captain America, utter some of these words is just giddy.
And when Deadpool was saying them earlier and saying that Johnny Storm said these things, and Johnny Storm says, I don't even know what this means.
Right. What? I didn't say that.
But he actually said, when you look at it at the end, he actually said worse in the than what Deadpool recounted.
Yeah,
so.
Chris Evans with a potty mouth is well worth waiting through the credits for.
Yeah.
So
Chris Evans is the king of the post-credit sequence because he had that memorable PSA as Cap at the end of one of the Spider-Man movies.
And a great cameo in Free Guy.
Yes.
Very entertaining. I was very happy with it.
So was I. It was a
worth
the wait.
Long time coming, but well worth it. Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 4.5, I think. Just because it just gave me joy. Solid. It gave me joy.
Yeah. I'm 4.25.
4.25?
I'm just a little bit below you. I thought it was a little long in the tooth at times, but it gives you exactly what you want. And you know what? As much as Hugh Jackman said, I'm done with this character, and Logan is a nice closure, I think they did a fantastic job of honoring that. Well done, the way they brought him in, and that he was not the same Wolverine.
And Feige actually was resistant to having Wolverine be in the next Deadpool movie because he thought that Wolverine, the character, had the perfect closure in Logan. He didn't want to ruin it. He didn't want to ruin it.
So I think they were able to thread that needle. I thought they did a good job.
Well done, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, all around. Everybody involved. We need to talk really about Sean Levy, who directed this. But no.
3 different directors we had for all 3 Deadpool movies now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Reynolds should just direct the next one. He should just go full hog, just like Rick Moranis and I was going to say
Thomas. That's a beautiful segue because I had no clue that they directed Strange Brew, wrote it and directed it and starred in it. All right, so are we done with Deadpool and Wolverine?
I hope not, but in terms of this episode, yes.
I feel like this we're just as long as the actual movie,
right?
In our discussion on it,
it deserves it. It deserves it.
It is, and I'm sure that we missed. I'm sure there's a ton of jokes and gags that we just.
Again, once I see this at home, I'm going to be putting those subtitles on so I can see every glorious word.
They're going to be like tiny little subtitles because that dialogue comes fast and furious.
Yeah, that can't be AI.
You just get a transcript now.
If AI did that, it would get only half of it. I think of what was being said.
You do know on our podcast that a transcript now comes up.
Oh, really?
If you're listening to certain podcasts on certain platforms, the entire transcript, everything that we're saying right now is typed out.
I wonder how accurate it is. When I said Seamus, I wonder how that was spelled.
That's actually, I should go back and look at that.
I'll never live that down. I will never live that down. Speaking of Seamus, what are we doing for our concession stand?
All right. So if you're new to this show, in between we go to the concession stand, we get a refreshment, cleanse the palate before we head back in for a backup feature. So since we have a very heavy Canadian connection in these 2 movies, we are going to be heading to the Great White North for our treat. Canadian bacon, anyone?
I was thinking that you were going to go the team up route because we have never done.
All right. Well, I'm joking. There's no Canadian bacon.
Okay.
I could have gone. So I could have gone Mike and Ike's.
Yes, that's what I was thinking you would do.
I have to ask you this then. What would you do for a Klondike bar? Nope, we're not going there either.
We're not going there either?
I'm excited. No, they're from Switzerland. They have nothing to do with Canada whatsoever. I'm like, son of a. So, since my Regal now offers adult beverages and drinking plays heavily into both of these movies to a certain degree, I'm breaking out my driver ID and I'm going to bring you the amazing history of Molson beer.
Oh, which is extremely visible when you are on that big gondola Ferris wheel if you've ever visited Montreal.
We're going to talk about that. So drink up, you hoseheads. We're going to go into the history of Molson beer.
How's it going? I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
Good day. Our goal in this commercial is to make you thirsty.
Yeah, we do it with the pour shot. I'm going to take this ice cold Molson Golden and pour it into this frosty glass, eh?
Doesn't that make your lips just drool? Looking at that fresh Canadian water, barley, and hops.
As thirsty as you?
Yeah, absolutely. Molson Gold, the best there is from Canada.
Beauty, eh?
All right, let me set the stage. 1782, a long time ago. The tender age of 18, John Molson set sail from England on a leaky boat to the shores of Canada in search of a new life. Shortly after his arrival, he began working at the Thomas Lloyd Brewery. In 1784, 2 years later, Molson sued Thomas Lloyd for repayment of a debt. And I did some research. What that debt was, I'm unclear. But the end result was Lloyd admitting to the crime, and all of his brewery buildings had to be put up for auction. So this guy Molson, realizing that prices for wine,
I wondered, did they serve papers back in the 1700s if you were suing somebody?
It would just like duel at dawn. So John Molson here realized the price of wine, rum, and port were rising, and with an influx of English and Irish immigrants flooding in, Molson sensed the market potential for beer in the British colonies. So in 1785, less than a year later, used his family's wealth. So this guy had money in his pocket when he came over here to acquire the property and quickly established a Molson brewery. And then that, like literally months later, jumped on a boat back to England to buy modern equipment and ingredients of hops and barley. And when he returned, what he did was he offered the seeds free of charge to neighboring Montreal farmers who agreed to grow them to satisfy the brewer's need for malt. So this guy was like prescient. He was just like, well, we got all these drunk immigrants coming over here. So in 1786, just 6 weeks after taking the helm, Molson delivered his first brew, which was an ale, priced at 5 cents a bottle. And as you can imagine, it sold incredibly well. So Molson Brewery is now considered the oldest brewery in North America still in operation.
Wow.
Yep. Subsequently, it is Canada's second oldest company. The first honor goes to Hudson Bay Company, established in 1670 as a fur trade company, and today they run like this department store empire. So Molson.
Is it still
Huge.
on the same property as it is today? Was it that where it was established?
We'll get there. So what happened was he's got this beer empire. He's up and chugging, and so, like I said, his family must have had a vast fortune when he came over here, because it didn't sound like he did any other job except work for the brewery and then just buy it out from underneath this guy. So what he did was he turned his attention to humanitarian means. So in 1821, Molson lobbied to build the very first public hospital in Montreal. So up to that point, they had one hospital with 30 beds to service over 10,000 people. So he actually helped get Montreal General Hospital opened May of that year. In 1836, he actually helped create the first ever railway connecting Montreal to New York. The Champlain and St. Lawrence Railroads, which still exist today, even though it's under a different name. I think Amtrak runs on that. 1855, the Molson family acquired an American bank and transformed it into the full Canadian-owned Montreal Bank. And that same year, his two sons, William and John Jr., founded the Molson Bank. So they're like a monopoly in Montreal. 1903 was when Molson actually released Molson Export into the Canadian market, utilizing ingredients from the original recipe, which is considered a golden ale. In 1927, Molson is credited with establishing the first ever bottled return program, almost 100 years ago. So he was forward thinking in the commitment towards sustainability and waste reduction.
So is this guy at this point 150 years old?
He's going, man, but he just keeps going. But it's like this dynasty, this family, because his kids and his grandchildren end up taking over this thing. But as you mentioned, the Molson Brewery, which sits on the St. Lawrence River, is a very iconic building in Montreal. In 1950, they erected the iconic hexagon-shaped clock on the side of the building.
Yes.
Which is still there today, and is visible to up to 12 kilometers, which, according to us Yanks, is like 7.5 miles.
Wow.
So In 1957, Molson co-purchased the Canadian Arena, which included the Montreal Forum and the Montreal Canadian hockey team.
Yes.
We're going to get into like what's an ale versus a lager. So these guys like out of the gate are just like, gangbusters. But in 2005, Molson merged with Adolph Coors Company and they became Molson Coors. And in 2009, third generation brothers, Jeff, Andrew, and Justin took full ownership of the Canadian hockey team. But in 2018, the factory went up for sale. They moved their operations inland, some remote part of Montreal. But they're still out there chugging away, man. They're making beer left and right, and nothing is more Canadian than Molson. So,
except perhaps Elsinore beer.
Elsinore, which does not exist. But do you want to know the difference between a lager and an ale, or do you not care?
Let's tell us.
I did the research. So a lager is fermented using a bottom fermenting yeast at cool temperatures over a relatively long period of time. And the two most popular U.S. beers in this style are Corona and Bud Light.
Okay.
An ale is fermented with top fermenting yeast at much warmer temperatures and it can be ready to drink in as little as 3 weeks. So your styles like your stouts and your wit beers and your Indian pale ales, your IPAs, they make up like mostly like ales, which are bolder, fruitier, spicier. I'm more of a lager fan myself, Sam Adams lager. So 200 years ago, the vast majority of beers were ales, but they ushered in this lager. And now you can thank them for all these damn IPAs that are flooding the market and the craft beers, which I am not a fan of. But I'm beginning to think that John Molson may have been an anchor bean in our universe. So that's a very brief history, a very condensed overview of Molson. And if you've ever been to Quebec, or not Quebec, I guess the province of Quebec, but it's Montreal, that factory sits. They're hoping, I think I read somewhere that they're looking to repurpose it and they'll keep the signage on the side along with the clock.
Right now, it just says Molson on the side. To this day, it doesn't say Molson Coors, right?
No, they never updated it with the new branding.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. It's a very iconic building, big bricks factory that just sits there on the waterfront.
Yeah, can't miss it. If
you take a boat ride up to Montreal and St. Lawrence, or like you said, if you go up in the Ferris wheel, it's large and in charge right there. So when we're done, I will be partaking in a beverage. I've learned not to drink a beer when I go to the movies because they give you the big giant cans.
Okay.
And either I'm going to get up and pee 10 times, or I feel the need to drink it before it gets warm. And it never ends well. So
let's use that as a segue to Strange Brew. Now, I saw this in the theater when it was released in 1983. Okay. Huge Bob and Doug McKenzie fan. Of course, very familiar with the song Take Off, which also used Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee from Rush, who sings on that. I had the comedy album.
The Great White North.
Listen to it over and over and over again. And the reason being is that my father was a fan of the SCTV show, which I believe was syndicated on either WOR or WPIX in the New York area. Whatever, I saw it and was familiar with the characters of Bob and Doug McKenzie, played by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. So I was primed when this movie came out because that album came out in 1982. The single came out in 1982 and actually climbed the charts. So if you were listening or a fan of the Casey Kasem Top 40 on the radio, you heard Take Off with Geddy Lee and Bob and Doug McKenzie on a weekly basis.
Probably where I first heard it.
Yeah.
Would have been on Casey Kasem.
So a fan of these two. So I saw this movie with my dad at 12 years old when it came out. And I remember seeing it, and we've talked about this theater before, the Imperial Twin in Wappingers Falls, which just, judging from my memory, from all the theaters in my area, was probably the closest to an old 50s, 60s, really fancy movie house.
The big red carpet.
Big red carpet. It had a long lobby where you walked quite a few feet from the concession stand down the hallway with the drapes and the carpet to the actual 2 theater entrances. And they were one of the holdouts in theaters that actually used the lobby cards, where a lot of theaters didn't.
Yeah.
But they actually used those lobby cards. And for whatever reason, this twin theater was playing Strange Brew, and we went to go see it on opening weekend. And I loved it. It was one of my favorites from that point on. So glad that we're covering it.
It is a goofy, like, I can see being 12 years old and just the silly shenanigans that goes on in this. And I'm going to tell you, like, I'm watching this and I'm like, especially the whole opening sequence. I'm like, I don't remember any of this. So it has been a very long time since I've seen this.
So talk about meta. The whole opening sequence is them watching themselves in the movie. And then the movie goes into its normal story with these just 2 guys as schlubs. It never explains why they were making a movie or how in the first place.
They had no money. They couldn't even buy beer.
And there was a line out down the block to see this movie when they
hometown heroes making a movie. What was it? The Mutants of 2051 AD.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't remember any of it. But then it cuts to them in their Great White North setup. I will say this: like, Wayne's World and Austin Powers owes this movie a huge debt.
And these characters,
yes. At one point, Bob picks up the beer glasses and he puts them to his eyes. He goes, "Look, man, 3B." And we got gratuitous cases of Budweiser and Molson all over the place. The MGM lion.
Yeah, it begins with them
cranking his tail. I'm like, how'd they let them get that close to a lion? That just seems dangerous right then and there.
But then again, they're the directors, Rick Moranis,
which is crazy. Yeah,
Dave Thomas.
I had no clue. Not only did they co-wrote this with Steve Desjardins, so they wrote and directed this and starred in it. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive out of the gate.
I wasn't aware of box office standing back then. No, I
don't think any of us cared.
So I was dumbfounded the next year and the year after, is because it kind of sets up a sequel, right? Because they just go off to have more adventures at the end of this movie.
Sure, yeah.
I was dumbfounded why that never happened, but now looking at the box office numbers, I realize why it didn't happen.
How come we didn't even get but it's like a cult classic now, right?
Yeah, but they actually hosted Saturday Night Live. I think it was the season premiere, and the opening segment was them as Bob and Doug McKenzie on Saturday Night Live.
Probably where I saw them. I don't remember seeing SCTV all that often, but again, I had 2.5 channels. But
yeah, it opens with them in their Great White North set, introducing themselves in a movie, which is the Mutants of 2015 AD. And you see Rick Moranis in like a jockstrap over his pants. It was World War IV. I was the only survivor. I was off planet at the time, eh?
They find the Statue of Liberty, which is about a 6-inch statue.
It's like, look, Statue of Liberty, eh? He's like, and again, A is like after every sentence
I'm going to tell you right
in
now,
this movie.
174 times it is uttered. Mm-hmm.
And you hear Dave Thomas as Doug McKenzie off screen yelling, "Act, act." Right.
And the crowd's having none of it.
Because the mutant in question is Doug with a stocking over his head with oranges.
I am from another planet, eh?
And he's shooting him with like a pellet gun. He's like, "Take off, eh?"
So stupid.
And then they also do, which this was a bit on SCTV, the mouse in a bottle trick, where you get your money back for a beer if you take a baby mouse when it's so small that you can actually put it into a beer bottle. And do you just feed it until it grows?
You're gonna have to feed it, until it's big enough. And then you're like, wait a minute. Like that's a long con right there. All right, when he gets bigger, we're gonna take him in.
So yeah, we get the angry audience watching all this saying, "I want my money back. What kind of crap is this?" So they release them all. They're in the theater with the audience watching their own movie. They release them off, so everybody runs out. And then they run into the father with the 2 kids. "What am I supposed to tell them? I spent all my money on your movie." And they give them their money back, or at least Bob does. It's like, "You hoser, that was Dad's beer money." And then the movie starts in earnest.
Yeah, because we find out that at 24 case of Elsinore is $14.
Apparently, that was based on a real Canadian beer store where they just rolled out, from the back.
I actually wrote, what kind of beer store is this? And yeah, apparently they were not allowed to film in one of these stores. They exist. They were actually called brewery retail stores, and they were not allowed. They were banned from filming. So they basically just created their own and renamed it the beer store. And ironically, a few years later, the beer retail renamed it the beer store. So they just stole their, but it's just weird because it's just like a hole in the wall. Right. And there's like a conveyor roller belt that somebody in the back pushes out a case of beer.
Yep.
It's not like you're walking, unless it's a big walk-in freezer, so at least your beer's cold.
Yeah, it's not even like you can pick it out. It's just like an empty office you walk into.
There was no advertisements. There was no promote. Yeah, it was weird. I'm like, I'd never seen anything like it, but apparently these exist in Canada.
Just one more reason to move to Canada, right? Just so
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, what's even better, if you go out west, the Midwest in Ohio, they have the drive-through beer stores. Like you literally just drive through it and someone comes up and you say, yeah, I need a case of Molson, and they go and get it, put it in your back seat, and then you just pay and you drive right out.
But before we even get there, because they give their last dollar to this poor father with his kids who got ripped off because he went to go see their movie, they go home because they live with mom and dad wants his beer. And dad is voiced hilariously by the late, great Mel Blanc.
Which I actually wrote, is dad's voice Mel Blanc? Because you just see the back of their heads watching TV on the couch. That's all you see. And it's clearly that the person sitting on the couch is not talking, which is funny because you think about it. Rick Moranis and Mel Blanc both played Barney Rubble.
Yes.
And I read he was paid $10,000 for one day's worth of work. Mm-hmm. Not bad payday.
No.
I don't know what the equivalent in 1983, but that's a nice payday.
So the only beer left for dad is what they've already given their dog, Hosehead. So
with the dog food chunks in it.
So they go to the beer store, as we already just mentioned, with the mouse in a bottle trick.
Yes.
The guy tells them to get lost and go to the brewery if they want to get their
if you want your money back, you got to go to the brewery.
But what's great is that Doug goes, yes, I believe there will be no charge for that beer, sir. I found a mouse in a bottle.
We've got brewery on one side, lunatic bin on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, the lunatic asylum for the criminally insane in one direction. Yeah.
And I will say these matte paintings are so horrible that they're endearing because it's clear that there is no building up there.
And it's Elsinore Brewery. We haven't mentioned that this is loosely based on Hamlet. So
yeah, I found this fascinating. When I'm like, Hamlet, I'm like, all right, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Elsinore Castle and Hamlet now becomes Elsinore Brewery. So they go. So there's this backstory with the brewery that the owner of the brewery has been killed by electrocution at the front gate. His brother has taken over the brewery, but the daughter of the previous owner, who is now turning 21. There's no way this woman is 21 years old.
No, that's a stretch right there.
She's about to inherit, but the brother and his crony, Max von Sydow, Ming the Merciless.
I couldn't wrap my head around that this guy was Ming the Merciless. I'm like, I guess I got to see him with bald head. And yeah, it was weird.
So from that point on, they endear themselves to this girl who's about to inherit the brewery. So they try to get their free beer. They end up getting jobs on the line. And then they end up getting mixed up with the insane criminals who come in and they're test subjects for Max von Sydow's beer.
I wasn't quite sure what was going on here. They're lacing the beer and giving it to the lunatics for what? To create like an army?
And they're to create an army so they can control the world through the beer.
There you go. But I did enjoy when they were in the brewery and they were bribing the secretary with donuts, literally like pulling them out of their pockets. Well, what about this one, eh? Well, and that's where you get the exposition of this girl's was a father was killed, or uncle. And yes. She's inheriting. They try and buy her out $5 million and she wants nothing to do with it.
Yep. So the brother of the previous owner of the brewery, played by Paul Dooley, who was famously the dad in 16 Candles, after this, right? And he's in a million movies. We also get a former hockey player played by Angus McInnes, who is playing Jean Rosie LaRose.
Rosie.
And did you catch that this guy was
Yes,
Gold
I know.
Leader?
He was Gold Leader in Star Wars, and that's why when he makes the reference when he's in the black armor and he says, "Luke, I am your father." He says, he saw Jedi 17 times. Oh my God, it's a deep cut there, which was interesting because at that point when they filmed this, it was still under debate whether or not it was going to be called Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Jedi. So that's why he only refers to it as Jedi.
Well, thankfully, they didn't completely change the title to something else, or even Jedi would have been inaccurate.
Yeah. But I think even to this day, if someone says Jedi is my favorite movie, that you know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. So
after these inmates drink the beer, they control them into playing hockey games by using the keyboard. So again, to what means this is, I don't know.
No, it doesn't matter.
It's just a plot device to get Bob and Doug in hockey armor, not hockey uniforms, but hockey armor.
And this is full armor. They look like stormtroopers.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not. Yeah. That's full on armor.
Given to the dark side, you hoser.
You nub. So she takes them to the cafeteria, and we find a video game, the Galactic Border Patrol and asteroids. And for some reason, when they turn the power back on, video surveillance of her dad being killed comes across the video game. Because
throughout the movie, it's like the ghost of the dead guy that was killed is guiding the characters.
Guiding them, right. You see the glowing power outlet and all kinds of
There's one scene where like a ball of energy comes out of the monitor in the bad guy's lair. And Max von Sydow's like, I don't know what that is. There's no scientific explanation for it. Right. And they just forget about it and move on.
I was going to say, there's no explanation in the movie either.
No.
You're not really like, I don't know what's going on here. But again, just like the first one, just go with it.
So Bob and Doug have like walked into the middle of this plot. They're actually trying to kill the daughter as they are trying to get their free beer. So they end up blackmailed by Max von Sydow and Paul Dooley because they dress up as them, the Brewmeister.
Yeah. Yeah, they framed him.
They try to kill him first because they cut the brakes.
Oh, that's
in their
true.
van.
That was,
And apparently this stunt, when the van finally can't stop, they have the daughter and her father's best worker unconscious in kegs in the back of their van. And they tell Bob and Doug that they're going to drop these off to a birthday party after they've cut their brakes, and they end up
take this route here down this hill.
Yep. They end up in the river in Toronto. Right. So apparently this was like the biggest jump at the time because the van jumps off a ramp and into the river. So it made some kind of a stunt record.
And when he realizes that he can't stop, he's like, well, there's no point in steering now. He's like, hey, you ever notice in those movies when people are driving, they don't look at the road, they look at each other? It's like, why was Rosie on the pier with flowers?
Because he was following them to the birthday party. Because
I missed that part. I didn't know why he was standing there. But I thought we were going to get a Jaws joke because as they're breaking out of the van, you got the scuba guys and they're playing the Jaws theme, but nothing ever comes of it. Maybe there just wasn't anything in the budget.
And then there's like a lighthearted intermission that happens when you think that they've been killed and there's all this sad music and suddenly dun, 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 there's an intermission for 5 seconds. And then it goes back to the van. And they're not dead. They're in the van. They're just sucking the oxygen out of the empty beer bottles that they have.
It would have been a very short movie.
Alas, they've been framed already by the Brewmeister because they were wearing their clothes.
Yeah, they got video to prove it. Yeah.
Yep. So there's a scene where they're sticking the fingerprints on each other's face. So there's the steamroller scene where they're in the padded room
in the padded room with the straitjackets on. Steamroller.
You get to their trial, which is probably the funniest scene for me as a kid, as a 12-year-old watching this, when one of the lawyers says, "We can't have split pleas, Your Honor," and then it's like Rick Moranis, "I'll have 2 bowls of split please soup, please," and then Doug gets the nosebleed. They stick the bullets in his nose to stop the bleeding, and he says something else funny, and the bullets come flying out of his nose. And the movie gets more and more ridiculous as it goes on. Like I said, for a 12-year-old kid watching this stuff, it endeared itself to me forever, especially these scenes. Whenever I watch video surveillance footage, I always think of this scene of Paul Dooley saying, and May I point out there's a time code on this footage, which is very difficult to fake. The follow-up question is, can you please explain to the jury time code? Just because I don't know what it is doesn't mean I'm lying.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you're like. Yeah, there's a lot of nice little one-liners in here.
They take the insane patients to go to the brewery to defeat the brewmeister and Paul Dooley. And you get Bob and Pamela getting stuck in the vat of beer and the famous scene where he drinks all the beer and becomes a giant balloon.
My brother and I used to say that drowning in beer was like heaven, eh? Now that he's not here, I got 2 soakers. This isn't heaven. This sucks. But yeah, the reveal is that he's friggin' monstrous with a little tiny head. He drank it all. He drank it all.
And then at one point, Pam was like, is it getting warmer in here? I don't notice anything.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. He's peeing in the beer and then he drinks it.
Yeah. The brewery catches on fire, so he helps the fire department put it out by peeing on it. So he goes back down to normal size. So the bad guys are defeated, but they have to get the beer. They have to stop it from getting to Oktoberfest.
I don't know. I think the Oktoberfest was right in town. Either that or that dog flew a long way. Free beer. You can't pass up free beer at Oktoberfest.
But at the very end, when Bob and Doug get in the truck and drive away, they ask, so what's wrong with this beer anyway, eh? Is it poison? Oh, no, the effects wear off. So what was the
point?
What was the rush of stopping it from getting...
Right. Because he wanted to see a dog painted like a skunk fly through the air.
Yep.
But I will say there's nothing worse than a brewery's worst enemy than skunk beer. So dog shows up painted like a skunk and everyone screams and runs away.
And at one point, the dog gains a cape. And then you see the cape fly off, you know, and you see the dog actually look at it like, huh? Like at this.
Do you think that was the same guy, you know, the special effects maestro that probably worked with Christopher Reeves on Superman, and now he's helping a skunk painted dog fly, and he's like,
probably more likely he worked on Great American Hero.
Oh, maybe
it was that guy.
Yeah, don't disparage that. But still, I'm sure he's like, this is a low point in my life. 83, yeah, probably same year.
So yeah, the dog breaks through the tent and everybody freaks out, runs out. And so they save the day and they drive off with the beer at the end.
So are they going to throw it away or are they going to drink it?
They're going to drink it. But this may be one of the first ever post-credit scenes or, you know, mid-credit scenes. I think that we have. You didn't shut this off as the credits started to roll, did you?
When they go back to the...
when they go back to the Great White North set the credits.
Right, the end credits where they're actually calling out,
they're like, oh, this guy, he was always at the craft table. This guy, you couldn't get him away. Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. It's a complete throwback. Really, I think a lost 80s movie, if I may be so bold, because not a lot of people know about it. And it's I think just waiting there for reappraisal.
I'm surprised with all these franchises. Well, I mean, Rick Moranis is retired. We'll see if Mel Brooks can't get him out of retirement for Spaceballs 2. Maybe he'll have a resurgence. His kids are probably grown up by now. You never know.
This holds a very dear place in my heart. So I'm going to go 4 buckets on Strange Brew.
Woo! Wow. All right. I have this 3 1/4. Not quite as high as you. I have not seen this in a very long time. It is not. I did see that there was a planned sequel.
Yes. Years later, 1999.
Yeah, 99.
Yeah.
Right. Which would have included Dan Aykroyd and somehow Todd McFarlane producing.
But the financing fell through, unfortunately. Homebrew would have been the title of it.
And I also saw Dave's brother Ian sings the song Strange Brew.
Mm-hmm. And did you read about the soundtrack album?
No.
So apparently the soundtrack album to this movie wasn't the musical score. It was dialogue from the movie and narration from the brothers.
Oh, okay. So are they like describing the action?
I don't know if they're describing the action. Maybe they're talking about the filming of the movie, but perhaps they're describing
the commentary.
I've never heard it before, but it was only available for a short time, and it's been years and years out of print since 1983. A novelization / activity book was released in 1983 that was in the shape of a beer bottle, and I never saw this.
I did hear about this. Yeah.
I would love to have heard this. I wasn't even aware that there was a soundtrack album with them on it, or I would have been all over that as a 12-year-old.
That's pretty wild.
I got to
'cause it
see
probably
if I
was
can
still
find
vinyl.
that. Yeah.
It was early cassette days.
But yeah, unfortunately, the sequel never came to be. As you said, Aykroyd was on board, but the financing fell through.
All right. So you mentioned animated show.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of info on it, but there
Okay.
was
Because I know nothing. Yeah.
there is an episode of it on the DVD that I have.
Nope. I know nothing about that. But that would lend itself to, silly, over the top, fantastical adventures.
Yeah,
with
it would.
With these two knuckleheads. As long as I got to drink beer at the end of it. Maybe that's why it failed on Saturday.
Maybe that's why you can't have characters
Mommy,
drinking
can I
beer.
get Molson cereal beer?
So, did you perhaps see this on HBO at some point, or when you were in your 80s heyday?
I'm having a hard time even. No, it probably wasn't HBO. I probably did watch it, rented it on VHS somewhere.
I remember I was excited when it first came out on VHS so I could see it again because I only saw it the one time in the theater. And I remember that it was the big MGM video box that you took off the shelf.
The clamshell.
It wasn't the clamshell, but it was
wasn't.
an oversized cardboard box that MGM
geez.
specifically used to put out.
Okay.
And I remember holding that thing in my hands. Yeah.
The things we hold on to is
I know. This is
crazy.
when VH movies cost like $80-90 to actually
absolutely.
buy. Yeah.
No, and everyone was predicting it was a death knell of television or movie theaters. Now we're happily paying $25 for a streaming. They got us. They got us in the end.
Video would have never taken over movies because you got to wait 6 months for the thing to come out on video, or you don't see the movie.
It was longer than that. Some of them just took a very long time.
Yeah,
like some of them. Like I remember Batman came out really quick. Like that was almost priced to. I think Top Gun.
That was priced to sell. I remember like that was one of the first things released at midnight, and people were just hitting those video stores in droves to get themselves a copy of that.
Yeah. What was nice, I mean, remember when, video stores and Blockbuster would sell like old versions or old copies, they'd probably been watched 100+ times, but all of a sudden it was, in the discount thing for $15-20, and you're like, it's a bargain.
Yeah.
And we watched them on VHS and we didn't know any better. Scraggly tape and all. Very cool. Yes, I was shocked to learn that was in fact Mel Blanc playing that character.
Yes. And there is that one throwaway shot when you see that it is actually Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas playing the parents in bed with each other when they...
I didn't pick up on that.
You didn't pick up on that?
I didn't pick up on that. No, because he was on top of her.
Yes.
Right? Oh, crap. I did not pick up on that.
So Dave Thomas's dad and Rick Moranis' mom on the bottom there. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
Take off, hey!
Take off. That's even more. Now I'm disturbed. Now I got to go check out. Now I got to go look on YouTube and see if the animated.
Yeah, look for it. Look for it. All right. So what else did we do this week?
Well, I talked too much with the concession, so you can go first.
Getting ready for my Disney trip at the end of August.
Ooh, yes.
I wait just long enough in between trips for them to have like new attractions. So there's something new that I can latch onto. This time it's going to be Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And also the Tron Light Cycle ride, which I've not ridden on either of these things because they're pretty much brand new. So in order to get us ready, I am going to watch Princess and the Frog. I haven't done that yet, and I've never seen it. So
I can't believe you've never seen it.
No. So I'm going to watch that at some point in the next couple of weeks. But we did this past week watch Tron, my son and I. Yeah. And I was never a fan of Tron as a kid.
It's a little slow.
It's slow and it's hard to understand, especially as an 11-year-old.
Well, we didn't understand computers really.
No.
Then what's a CPU?
Yeah, or what's a user, or what's a program, or what's I
mean, they're all language we know now, but back then it was jargon.
So I never really was a fan of the movie, and I never watched it closely. I watched Legacy when it was first released, but because I wasn't as familiar with the original, it went over my head, right? Okay. So I kind of tolerated Legacy that one time that I watched it. So I watched the original Tron again with my son. And now, of course, he knows what all this stuff means, and now I do as well. And I see where they kind of fell on their faces with the plot, because there isn't a lot of exposition to help you through it. you can piece it together now, right? Because again, I think this plays better for a modern audience than it did to audiences in 1982.
They were too ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So now I know what's going on, and I'm like, this is pretty good. Although I'm still shaky on, okay, are these supposed to be living sentient beings in the computer that these programs are? And are
They're
the
just
games
programs.
video games? Or do they get sent to the video game exile when the MCP doesn't want to deal with them anymore? Or so I still am shaky on some of the plot points.
The lore.
But I appreciated it. So I'm like, okay, I think I want to watch Tron Legacy again now.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're going to go back because I did enjoy that. And I think that sequel is still in development.
Yeah, there's a third
Legacy. I mean, they went to the extent of putting the light cycles in as a ride. So you'd think that you'd want to capitalize on that. But yeah, you're talking probably one of the very first CG rendered graphics.
Because we never really, we did talk Tron on our 1982 episode, but that was kind of like a throwaway discussion.
Yeah, we just kind of, yeah.
We did talk Last Starfighter, and
that sequence was huge. That ship at the end with the Death Blossoms, that is very early CG.
But Tron came first,
and you can see the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's there, just polygons. It's just, but in the context of the story and where they are in the video game world, it makes sense because our video games at the time were asteroids and missile command.
The Master Control program, right, wants to be. I guess he wants to be sentient and take over the world and be over the users, because his issue is that the users are too controlling.
That's where the name comes from.
But that's like a Thanos argument. Like maybe this guy's right. Maybe he does. Yeah. He just wants the computer land to be free. That's all he wants.
Stop telling me what to do up there.
Yeah. And that's kind of like that bleeds into Tron Legacy, because now you have this character of Clue, who is created by Jeff Bridges Flynn, who also gets too big for his britches, and wants to take over Computerland. And again, you're asking yourself, okay, are these things living, these programs? Because then Olivia Wilde, who plays what's her name?
I don't remember, but she
Tron,
was awesome in this. Yeah,
she comes out into the real world with Flynn's son at the end. I'm like, well, now is she a human, or is she because when Flynn's son and when in the first one, when Jeff Bridges goes into computer world, he bleeds, so he's still a human in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is she still a program in reality? So if she died, would she go into like megabits like she does in the?
Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but we talk about Tron, the special effects, and in Legacy, that was kind of one of the first where they took his younger face and de-aged him and rewrapped him.
That wasn't that.
It's
wasn't
not.
The
no,
best.
but it's not. But it was one of the first where they really kind of tried their best to pull that off.
Yeah.
And because they're in that computer world, I think you can kind of dismiss it a little bit. But yeah, it's a little wonky.
It really looks like one of those video game characters, a CGI game character.
It is uncanny valley weirdness to it. But now I want to go watch Tron again. Is that on Disney Plus?
They're both on Disney Plus. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
So that's what I did. I did my homework for Tron for our Disney trip.
You did a lot. I sadly I've not done much this last 2 weeks. I've been beaten down brutally by work. But I did catch last night. You get home late and it's like I can't just go to bed. I gotta unwind. And I found Mel Gibson's Apocalypto,
which we have discussed,
and it is fantastic. And what I realized 10 minutes into watching it, because I caught it pretty early on, it was on the Spanish channel, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, it's all subtitled, but you understand exactly what's going on. You don't need to see the dialogue in any way, shape, or form. And it really is spectacular. It is so well put together. So,
because of course we always say we got to give you the episode number.
I think that makes sense.
We paired it with Prey. It's episode number 245.
245. There it is. Yep.
So if you want to go back and listen to our Apocalypto discussion, we paired that with the great Predator movie Prey, and it was our episode number 245.
245. That was almost 100 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Prey's also getting a sequel. Are we not? I keep hearing a bunch of people telling that they should do like a feudal Japan, which I think you keep that franchise open. Just keep doing different genres.
Different historical figures fighting the Predator. Pretty soon it's going to be.
I want to see the Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington battle.
Abe Lincoln, vampire hunter versus the Predator. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. 245. All right. Yeah. I don't remember how you felt about it, but I do like that movie a lot.
Oh, yeah. I like it as well.
Pretty solid. Yeah. All right. So this pretty much wraps up this episode. And now comes our favorite part of the show. What are we doing next episode?
Next episode, we are revisiting one of my favorite franchises, Alien. There's actually a new Alien movie, and this is maybe a throwback to the original. It looks like it.
It looks like it straight up. We saw a red band trailer in front of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Again, show me way too much. As we mentioned, just tell me it's an Alien movie.
Yep. Tell me it's the director of Evil Dead. Tell me it's an Alien movie, and then that's all really you got to show me, and I'm there.
What's his name?
Federico Alvarez is his full name.
All right.
He did the remake of Evil Dead. He did Don't Breathe, and now he is gifting us with Alien Romulus, which takes place a few years after the events of the original Alien. So at this point, Ripley is still floating out in space somewhere in the Narcissus shuttle with Jones, the cat, by her side. So
this is, okay.
Yeah. So this takes place between Alien and Alien. So this is its own standalone story.
I thought about it after the fact, even once we locked in what we're going to pair this with. That the Sean Connery Outland, because isn't it also like an abandoned station or something?
Oh, let me see. Outland.
I feel that was more like a High Noon. I don't know if he was, but I like our choice.
So it looks like a cowboy movie on the moon.
Yeah, in the moon.
Yeah. Doesn't have to do with aliens or anything like that.
No, I like your choice. I like our, especially because you claim you've never seen this.
No, I have. It's not a claim. I've never seen it. It's Deep Blue Sea we are pairing Alien Romulus with. And my thought behind this was that maybe we should have, because there's a bunch of haunted house type, the cast gets picked off one at a time type movies. And there's a whole subgenre of these taking place like underwater. So I was thinking of Deep Star 6, maybe Leviathan. There's a few others, but one that I kept coming back to that I've never seen before, Deep Blue Sea. But I've heard over the years great things about it. So this is going to be my first opportunity to see Deep Blue Sea.
I hope that you were entertained.
Let's see. Let's see.
Yes. Thomas Jane, Sam Jackson, LL Cool J.
So this sounds like it's, bring the cast together and pick them off one at a time, kind of like Alien. So I'm hoping there's some correlation.
Genetically enhanced Mako sharks. Cool. I'm in.
Let's see
that should be
what
fun.
It has in store. Yeah.
Yes. So that is in 2 weeks.
Yes, it is.
So set the calendar.
Right.
And we'll see you then.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand. Some people call me Concert Blade. I call it a Sling Blade. Oh.